What's up? What's happening? Dan Lucero, 580 Sports Talk here, guy rememberer in chief. And I thought today would be a good day to do another Immaculate Grid with Dan for our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. If you like these videos, give them a like, subscribe to the channel, 580 Sports Talk. We got lots of other great content, including our daily sports talk shows, our instant reaction to KU, K-State, and Chiefs games, and so much more on the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Check it out and subscribe today if you have not already. Today, since we start the NFL season tomorrow, I thought maybe we could do, instead of a baseball grid, we could do a football grid today. So here we have a football grid. There it goes. And today on the football grid, would you look at that? The Kansas City Chiefs are on the football grid. You can do grids, by the way. They have grids at immaculategrid.com. This is where I play. immaculategrid.com, and they have daily grids for baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, women's basketball. It's amazing the number of grids you can do on immaculategrid.com. I prefer the baseball ones. Baseball's my sweet spot. Baseball's my favorite sport. But I thought, let's give a football one a try, and lo and behold, because it is the day before the season opener, where the Chiefs take on the Ravens. The Chiefs and the Ravens are both on this grid. And for some reason, the teams that played each other in Super Bowl 50 are also on this grid, the Broncos and the Panthers. So real quick, these columns are the Ravens, the Broncos, and players who have played in a Pro Bowl. And the rows are the Chiefs, the Panthers, and players with over 5,000 career rushing yards. Let's do the bottom row first. 5,000 career rushing yards. Now, for the Ravens, I could burn a really good Raven Chief here with Priest Holmes, but I'm going to do a former Bronco in the Raven spot, actually. I'm going to do Willis McGahee here. Willis McGahee was a hell of a player. Even after that cataclysmic knee injury that he suffered in college in that national championship game when he was with Miami, he still ended up having a whale of an NFL career, played for a bunch of different teams, including Baltimore toward the end. So Willis McGahee, a rarity score of 5%. My rarity score on these is not going to be as good as my rarity score typically is on a baseball grid. Just be aware of that. For the Broncos, 5,000 career rushing yards. I'm going to go even more old school than Willis McGahee. How many people remember that Cowboy great Tony Dorsett wrapped up his career with the Denver Broncos? Apparently, it's just 3% of people. How about that? Tony Dorsett had a lovely career, obviously most known for his time with Dallas. But he did, in 1988, wrap up his career with 703 rushing yards in 16 games with the Broncos before he finally called it a career, the last of his 12,739 rushing yards. So he hops well over that 5,000-yard barrier. Tony Dorsett, 3%. I guess that's how many people remember Tony Dorsett was a Bronco. 5,000 career rushing yards and a Pro Bowl. Come on, I got to go with my favorite football player of all time here. Marshawn run through a bleeper's face Lynch. Man, I love Marshawn Lynch. I have so many nice things to say about Marshawn Lynch. The Skittles, the celebrations, the iconic runs, the beast mode, everything about Marshawn Lynch is fabulous. My favorite football player of all time. Just 2% there. But again, there are a lot of choices. A lot of guys, obviously, 5,000 career rushing yards and a Pro Bowl. Let's do the Panther row, and then we'll savor the Chiefs row a little bit. For the Panthers and the Ravens, I'm going with one of the great quarterback busts in history. Remember Jimmy Clausen? Jimmy Clausen, just 1%. Apparently people don't remember Jimmy Clausen. Jimmy Clausen came into college at Notre Dame as the next big thing and was immediately unimpressive as a freshman, to the point where I was out on the Jimmy Clausen hype at that point and never got reeled back in on the Jimmy Clausen train. He ended up being a second-round pick of the Panthers, started 10 games with the Panthers, and then didn't show up in an NFL game again for 4 years until he started a game and played in 4 with the Bears in 2014, then split time with the Bears and the Ravens in 2015 before the end of his NFL career. 14 career starts for Jimmy Clausen, 1-13. But because he went to Notre Dame, everybody thought he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It didn't quite work out. For the Panthers and the Broncos, this is where growing up in Denver gives me a bit of an advantage. I do know my mid-90s Broncos. Even if I didn't grow up rooting for the team, those teams were inescapable. Even some of the last guys on the roster, like my choice here, Patrick Jeffers is going to be my pick in this middle square. Patrick Jeffers actually had one good season with the Panthers. After his Bronco tenure, he caught 63 passes in 1999 for Carolina. Pretty nice year. 12 touchdowns that year. Yeah, he should have made the Pro Bowl. With the Broncos, he appeared in 14 games over 2 years, but he was on their championship team in 1997, and he's everybody's favorite kind of player. That's white. I mean, that's right, the white wide receiver. A little Freudian slip there. But everybody loves the white guy out at wide receiver. Patrick Jeffers was that for the Broncos, and then he went on to the Panthers to much greater renown. Only 0.5%. I'm off to a good start. It's a good board so far. Panther Pro Bowler. Obviously, there are easy answers here. Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, guys like that. I'm not looking for the easy answer. I am looking for the obscure answer. I am going for defensive end Mike Rucker, who played only for the Panthers in his career, 0.2%. Mike Rucker was a double-digit sack guy for a couple of years, made one Pro Bowl. Mike Rucker is my choice on the Panther Pro Bowl square for just 0.2%. All right. Time to remember some Chiefs. Chiefs Pro Bowlers. I'm going to go with a modern choice here. I'm going to go with the best left guard in the game, Joe Thuney, for a rarity score of 2%. Indispensable part of the Chiefs' offensive line over the last few years. It's going to be great to have him back after he got hurt late last season with that pectoral injury. He has been a stalwart at left guard. Him and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith have formed the best interior line in football. Creed Humphrey's been named to some Pro Bowls. The thing about being named to the Pro Bowl is if you play deep into the playoffs, you typically don't participate in the Pro Bowl. Now, of course, they don't even play a real game. But a lot of Chiefs have been named to Pro Bowls but not participated because they're playing in a conference championship game every year since Mahomes has been around. So, like, Creed Humphrey has been named to Pro Bowls, but he's never participated in one. Trey Smith has never been named to a Pro Bowler, which I expect to change this year. But Joe Thuney, his counterpart on the other side of guard, is my choice there. For the Chiefs and the Broncos, I am going with a player who had a great run in Kansas City, though tainted by some off-the-field misdoings, went to Denver and immediately became one of the most reviled players in Broncos history. I'm talking about Dale Carter. Dale Carter was a 4-time Pro Bowler with the Chiefs. He was a defensive rookie of the year in 1992, had 7 interceptions, had a really nice run in Kansas City from 92 to 98, though, again, there were some off-the-field issues, most of them involving substance abuse. He was signed by the Broncos, and if I recall correctly, the Broncos gave him maybe the biggest contract a defensive back had ever gotten in NFL history at the time. And he happened to join the Broncos right as their mini dynasty was ending. John Elway had just retired, and 1999 was a miserable year for the Broncos, and Dale Carter played very poorly. And so he took a lot of blame. I remember the name Dale Carter basically being a profanity in Denver that year. And then year 2 of his big contract, he doesn't play because he got suspended for an entire season for another violation of the league's substance abuse policy. He did go on to play some after that, 1 year in Minnesota, 2 in New Orleans, and then a year in Baltimore, age 36 in 2005 before he hung it up. But Dale Carter, very good Chief, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second-team All-Pro, very bad Bronco, 1%, remember, that he played for both of those teams. And lastly, we have the Chiefs and the Ravens, the teams that open up the regular season in the NFL on Thursday night. A couple of real obvious answers here, like Marcus Peters would be an obvious one. Priest Holmes would be an obvious one. I'm going with maybe a less obvious one. The Chiefs have had some very good receivers in the Patrick Mahomes era. They've also had some receivers who weren't very good, but looked good because number 15 was throwing them the football. And maybe at the top of that list is Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson, for 3%, 17 rare score. This is one of my best football grids ever, by the way. I almost never do this well. Demarcus Robinson, just 3%. Demarcus Robinson played for the Chiefs 2016 to 2021. Actually had decent numbers, 14 touchdowns in 97 games. 14 touchdowns on 145 career receptions. Also dropped the ball a lot. Also carried it like a loaf of bread. Wasn't a real popular player. Always felt like the Chiefs could do better than Demarcus Robinson. He ended up signing with Baltimore after the 2021 season, played a year with them, played last season with the Rams, and is currently still with the Los Angeles Rams. He caught 26 balls last year and 4 touchdowns, which kind of seems to be his season average. But Demarcus Robinson is my last grid answer. So there you have it. That is my football grid today. Go to ImmaculateGrid.com, click on football to play along. My rarity scored at a 17. I'm pretty proud of that. Pretty happy with how that turned out. And I like my Chiefs row too. That's a mixed bag of former Chiefs there for sure. Demarcus Robinson, Dale Carter, and Joe Thuney. 3 guys without a lot in common other than the uniform they once put on. So that is my football grid today. Would love to hear what your rarity score was. If you've got a better Chiefs answer for that top row, tell me about it. If you've got a better answer for any of those other squares, tell me about it in the comments. And again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk.